then Irfan Pulungan here, who would be the second one. Then I will be the third one, Christine Cabasset. And then we will be joined by Rémi de Bersegol, who unfortunately couldn't leave New Delhi, and he will join us with Skype. And we have the honor and pleasure also to be with Olivier Chrétien from Paris Municipality, who will be the chair and discussant for this session. Thank you.
Excuse me, which place, what place?
It's SDS Studio.
Could you please where?
Good afternoon, everybody. I try to be the most exciting I can. It's just the worst timing to present.
Sorry,
to present?
Yes, please.
Niraman is assistant professor at the Department of Urban and Regional Planning at the Chulalongkorn University and director of the Urban Design and Development Center.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we can turn off the light because I'm sorry, it's not. Maybe it's not. Very difficult to see. Sorry, it's my information. Is this better? Thank you. Yeah, okay, maybe I start. So the topic of my presentation is water management in Bangkok and uneven vulnerabilities, which is, I guess, this is a time again that the flood is coming to Bangkok. So in my presentation, it's a normal phenomenon for this city, for Bangkok. And to make this city dry, it's very costly, very expensive, and with bad management, it's even more costly and risky. And for those who are like a vulnerable group, so I will start from this picture on the left-hand side. It's Bangkok in like the 19th century. It's like a boy Sir John Bowring from England, from Pinto, who's a Portuguese priest from Portugal, who lived by that time that Bangkok is one of Venice of the East, as you can see in the picture. So from 18th to 19th century, we had like more than 1,000 canals in the city. And according to Sir Bowring, he said like it's amazing to see like Bangkok, this city that use the canals and the river as a highway. And at the turn of the century, you see the real highway. After the flood, not the latest one this is in 2009, and actually it's more repetitive and increasingly more serious every year. So I would like to start first how we, the city and the people in the city live with the water, especially in the past. As I told you that the flood is a normal phenomenon because we just sit here in the lower basin of Chao Phraya River, which is a low-lying basin, which is 30.5 to 1 meter above the mean sea level. So this is where Bangkok located. And according to that, we enjoy a lot the location and the affluent of the water. So this is you see this is the canals in the 19th century. It looks like a spider web. It's more than like 1,000. It's for mainly for the irrigation and also transform the land in order to benefit from the location and the amount of water to the max. They said like Bangkok enjoy like three types of water: the rainwater, the north water, the water from the north, and also the sea water, which is increased and reduced every day. And this is how the people in the past modify the city, not only for the irrigation but also for the transportation. You see, this is the highway. According to the Sergeant Bowring, we use the canal for the urban development and the rice production in the past. And you see, this is how we enjoy the water and try to benefit to the irrigation and the agricultural around the city. This is in the north. We did a rice field because the land is very muddy. And this is in the west. The level of the land is a little higher. So this is like ditch and dike orchards. And the technique is like from the southern of China. And this is in the south, the fishery. So this is give the wide variety of the urban landscape to the city. Just to close up to the neighborhood level, and this is a ditch and dike, very beautiful. This is remain very few in the west of Bangkok. You see, most of the land actually is the surface of the land. Most of that is the water, and you see, this is not only for to keep the water to use it in the dry season, but also for the logistic reason. So you don't have to use a truck, where you have a good system of the canal. And at the building level, so you see like how we live with the water. We float with it. We float and how to say semi-float. This is in the south. We hybrid with the pole and the floating house. This is located like the foot of the hill where the flash flood happened every year. So after the flood, it just float and then when the flood gone, it just remained the same according to the pole. And this is in the central Bangkok, in Ayutthaya. You can see this. Live on the stilt. And when the water reaches its peaks, which is actually next month, November, the people switch the ground floor into the second floor, even the market. And the first floor is just to park the boats. Even like the place, the house of the animals, we built always like a double floors. Even like the landscape, we plant the plants in the pot on the water, and also how, and this is a leaflet in the scape of the settlement look like. We enter the house from the river. So the life is really center around the river, the economic activities, socialize, the place along the deck, and also the pavilion. And also the festival. Normally if you see most of the Thai festival is happen during the end of October and November, when the level of water reached the peak. This is used to be one of the most famous festival. This is Buddha Lyrics festival. And this is not my house, but I used to live like this with my grandmother. It just remind the old time. My grandmother, she has a house next to the canal, and she was very happy. During the November, she said it's good. We didn't have to clean the house because the water just went away. You just prepare to keep the television and everything on the table. You look at the electric socket. She really cleverly place it just away from the highest level of the flood. But you cannot do it now because the water was not so clean, no longer clean. Yeah. So this is and I tell you that I used to swim in the living room with it was quite surreal experience, I remember. So yeah, it was like that. And this is, it was in the past, but I'm going to show you what happened nowadays with the organization of Bangkok. People sometimes swim in the road, and we smile. It's not, we're happy, but have you seen Joker? The guy, the Joker, the movie, he laughs when he's sad. That's I think about us, like Thai people, sometimes we are really sad, but we laugh. You see, this is people swim in the road, like this is October, I don't see, I'm sorry. So this is one of the biggest flood hit Bangkok, and the level of the flood is like 2.5 meters, and create a really big loss in terms of economic and social. But actually, statistically, if you see the rain precipitation, the rainfall, it increased just slightly. What changed was how we developed the city. Bangkok, this is Bangkok, like in 19th century, from like 4 square kilometers and expanded into 1,500 square kilometers in like just a half of the centuries. And you see, this is what I show you, the agricultural land, which is the major water absorption and retention reduced a lot greatly because of the land use, which is quite generous. I'm sorry, I have to be quick, but you see in other cities, the agricultural land use, the building is not allowed, but in Thailand, we allow until 2. Like we can build anything like twice per land plot, means that we can build anything. That's why in just 20 years, agricultural land reduced half, like almost 50% reduced with after the road has been constructed, because we don't have like the housing and land tax to monitor the land speculation. So the price increase. For example, this is what happened in the West. Just happened after the first the expansion of Sathorn Road. The land price increased from 300% to 1,000%. So this is the main reason why the farmers start to sell land. And this is what happened in the West. The farmer orchards produce the fruits, variety fruits with great taste. So you see a lot of residential projects, the suburban, happen in this area. Like this, just to zoom in, this is Dish and Dyke Orchard from 2002, and this is what happened in 2010. Once after one suburban housing project has been constructed, so it's very difficult, more difficult for the farmer to still live and use the cutter to irrigate the water. And this is just to show you the number. When the residential area or land use increase, the great reduction of the agricultural land, and also the increase of the vacant land, means that this is a land speculation, just wait for to sell or to build. And this is just after the turn of the century, this is what happened in the north, east, south, and west of Bangkok, the urban sprawl. And this is, I think, one of the most ironic land development that happened, not exactly in Bangkok, but adjacent to Bangkok, which is Samut Prakan, where Suvarnabhumi airport located. Suvarnabhumi means the golden land, means imply like the land with a golden field. Yeah. And this is just replace a huge amount of the paddy field in the east, and this is create a great problem, I tell you at the end of the slide. So this is Bangkok, the land use plan of Bangkok, and this is Suvarnabhumi Airport, International Airport, and the area just above Suvarnabhumi Airport is just a floodway, the way to reduce, to drain the water to the Thai Gulf in the south. And besides the land development, also one of the reasons of the flood is the dismantle of the waters, the dismantle of the water system, which is clog or canal. You see, after 1960, Thailand has been shifted from the agricultural base to manufacturing and exportation oriented. So a huge number of the road construction has been put forward, and followed by the great reduction of the canal and the width of the canal, as you can see. And this is one of the things that happened all over Bangkok. And not only at the city scale, but also the reduction of the water retention happened also in the regional scale. This is the reduction of the great water reservoir in the north. That's what that create also a larger volume of the flood come to the city down south in the greater speed. So this is the great reduction of the reservoir I show you. To the next. And so this is what happened, and this is a reaction to the flood by the Bangkok Metropolitan. So construction of the hard infrastructure, the dam along the river and canal, also the water gates in every canals controlled by the DLA, and also the huge infrastructure like the underground water drainage tunnel, but however it didn't work since. This is a governor, and Bangkok still suffer by the flood. And also the water hard infrastructure gave another effects to the community, and this is the charming water settlement that especially tourists love to see, and this is what happened. So this is a total destruction of the life along the river after the construction of the dam, and the level increased every year from 8.5 to 3.6, and also other activities. And the flood nowadays, it didn't give only the bad or negative impact to the Bangkok's people, but also to the people who live around Bangkok. It manifests after the flood 2011. So this is Bangkok, and this is, if you remember, most of the country of Thailand submerged under the flood. However, as Bangkok, anchor a huge amount of the GDP, like 40% of the country GDP, so Bangkok has to remain dry. So Bangkok has to be waterproof. Why? I mean, at the cost of the people who live around Bangkok, like this is Suphanburi in October, Ayutthaya in October too. So this is the survey by many of researchers, like this is caused by the bad management of water. They manage very badly because the water currents has no way to go, so that's why I stay around our province, because they would like to keep Bangkok dry like that, and they are most of them are bad informed, so they couldn't prepare. They said it could be better, or they could save their house or their properties if they had informed better. So it doesn't mean that Bangkok or Thailand didn't have any plan for water management. Actually, we have like 9 ministries, 15 departments involved in water management issue. None of them coordinate with each other, although the state initiate like the water management projects and spend like almost $600 million, but the result as you just seen. And also the problem of the political economy, as you see, like this is they have been very difficult to coordinate between the elected party by Bangkok people and the rest of the country. So the result, as you see in the map I show you, that the water cannot enter into the city. And this is just one of the example of the fragmentation of the organization to manage the water. the Frog flood relief operation center set up by the central and national government. They're really unable to connect with the local authorities and lead to the even worse problem. And this is the most contested flood mitigation measures. When the Bangkok governor realized that nothing can be done, so they just put a big bag. This is a sandbag at huge size around Bangkok, just to prevent the flood to enter the city. In order to keep the Bangkok dry, this is a department store at the same time. So this is what happened. And there has been a protest along the Big Belt, and finally, people in other province managed to destroy the big bag. And also, there's a lack of the linkage between the central authority and the local administration. So, as you can see, this is Bangkok, and this is Suvarnabhumi Airport. So, there's a total lack of the coordination from the city planning and also the water management. And so this is a sacrifice of the less essential areas, so they have to stay in the water longer. I almost finished. So the last point I would like to talk about is the crisis management. Even after the flood in 2011, this is another flood. It happened like a few years after. There's still no comprehensive plan to manage the flood, and in order to survive, the former governor just invent this course day by day, please do not call this water the flood, but this is please call it the water waiting for the drainage, Nam Ro Rabai, as a very famous words for Thai people. And in 2011, Yingluck, after the crisis, she proposed another big flood management, but it has been in draft with a hurry and has been criticized for a low participation by people. But anyway, it has been removed by NCPO after the junta, and he proposed another plan for the management. So this is the last slide. So the flood for Thai people now is just as seen as a humanitarian rather than the compensation of the state responsibility. So the rehabilitation is seen as a voluntary or the good heart donation instead of the state obligation to which citizens could hold the state accountability. So this is my presentation. Thank you. Sorry for this longer time.
Thank you very much, Norma. Now we Jakarta with Irwan Pulungan. Irwan is a urban planner and policy analyst, policy advisor for the Jakarta Governor's Office since 2017. So you're in charge of the coordination of the City Climate Change Working Group and developing substantive policy direction to achieve the city climate commitments of the city.
Thank you, Oliver. So, from Professor Wira's presentation, I think Jakarta has a similar problem that the whole city experienced flood and land subsidence. And along climate change, it doubles the problem. So my presentation will examine mostly about land subsidence in Jakarta and how the city government try to develop a robust and comprehensive problem solving to that matters. So I think as also mentioned before by Professor that Jakarta and Bangkok is facing similar problem of urbanization, where in Jakarta, urbanization is mostly seen not as a threat but opportunity, where people or developer could sell land and property. And as one area in Southeast Asia, we in this past 50 years we failed to see the threat about how spatial planning, which based on economic growth, being what we call it, being affecting city. So as we see here, the economic growth is have an impact where it increased the temperature of Jakarta in 5 years. The temperature is increasing between 0.17 to 0.40 degrees Celsius in 5 years, where weather condition and rainfall change is increased very much in 2017. And air quality pollution is also being increased because there is 12 million increase of CO2 pollution in Jakarta because of poorly spatial planning process. It's also we also understand that 40% of Jakarta area is below sea level, and the sea level rise because climate change is reach 50 millimeter every year. And the problem that we face in Jakarta is abstraction of groundwater, where several researchers estimate that it will be reach 21 million meter cubic per year, and 40% of it, and 40% of the city is just 40% of the city is being served by water supply department. The water abstraction problem making Jakarta as one of the fastest sinking city in the world, where the average of sinking rate is reaching 0.2 meters to more than 2 meters in almost in several area in the northern area of Jakarta. And then land subsidence, seawater intrusion, clean water crisis and absorption create pressure, the increasing trend of catastrophic flood and sinking. So the problem statement that we have is where rapid urbanization meet economic activities growth, it means power induced urban planning in Jakarta for 50 years, where Jakarta urban planning is carried out in accordance to the interests and needs of those in position of power and developer. Mostly just 9 developers in Indonesia who have rights to land, and they have land or very huge land banking. By this fact, the city land use and spatial planning was being developed according to the needs of the developer in facilitating their selling land and property businesses. So what happened? In the past 50 years, the urban policy impact on environmental condition is it's not really seen in this presentation, but in this side, the economic growth and our industrial spatial planning make low intensity development on geographically low area, and it create land subsidence and sinking trap. At the middle, natural condition of 40% of Jakarta is below sea level, and the soil is very soft. It's also create land subsidence and sinking trap. And the car-oriented development policy that being made is a very high emission CO2 and low adaptive capacity of the city to climate change and increasing climate change impact, which doubling the land subsidence and sinking trend. If you see at the left-hand side, this is the big flood that hit Jakarta in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. Even the presidential palace is being flooded, and it's happened every 5 years, mostly in Jakarta. At the bottom, this is a mosque. You can see how land subsidence and sea reference claim some area of the city. So if you see the sea before is just a bit before the mosque, and now it's already claimed the mosque, and this is the wall that the government developed to avoid that. So it's really proven how poor spatial planning based on economic growth is being affected how Jakarta condition right now. So urban sprawl and inefficient low land use, you can see the comparison between Jakarta, Manhattan, and Singapore. Here we see it's not really seen here, but the development is dominated by low-rise development in all the area of Jakarta, while Manhattan, it's just the development is just not half even of the city, and in Singapore even lower, and they have high densification policy to make the city can not excessively using urban asset like water in Jakarta, because it's dominated by low-rise development, and the lack of services of water. It makes all people and business sector to use groundwater, and even though there is like a regulation on permit on water usage, it's quite strict, but it's not really enforced up till now. So everyone can usage without limit. So before this, the national government and sub-national government try to solve this problem with infrastructure approach development. If you see at the left-hand side of the screen, this is the reclamation project where the national government and the developer wants to develop 17 fake island in front of the Jakarta coastal. And at the right-hand side, this is the NCICD, the Great Garuda Wall, that they claim both of the program is an adaptation to climate change project where can help Jakarta to prevent it from sinking and solve groundwater extraction issues and land subsidence. But our research in 2017 showed us a devastating truth. So if you see, the red area is a blank zone and biogenic gas. It's have the potential when we have development in that area, it have the potential for liquefaction and gas blown out. So this research never surfaced before. This is done firstly in 1995 when the program is being announced by the central government, and same research is being conducted in 2010, 2017, and 2018. So there's lots of information and evidence that power-induced spatial planning and development really make policy making in Indonesia and especially Jakarta neglecting science and knowledge about the condition of the city. So the other finding of this research is the four fact islands. So there is already four fact island there. All four of the fact island is sinking. It reached 1 meter to 3 meter every year. It's just developed in 2014, so it's around 5 years. So the future challenge then, groundwater extraction and land subsidence. Land subsidence is it's just minus 57% of the city area is served by clean water. There is 12 centimeter land subsidence per year and 17 meter water source since 1999. So, and climate change will double the impact. Where 26 urban village, it's about 24,000 households reside in the North Coast area, where they will not just lose their livelihood, but also their land because of the sinking and the land subsidence. So to try to solve this problem, the Jakarta government right now try to initiate a new urban governance where governance delivery unit is being developed to execute responsibility to conducting evidence-based policy and also organizing subnational government communication between subnational government and national government to solve the problem, because we believe the problem is not an administrative boundaries problem, but it's beyond administrative boundaries, and Jakarta need to work together not just with the subnational government, but also not just with the national government, but also with other subnational government, because like Bekasi and Jawa Barat, because it's also impacted the Jakarta. 2 minutes. Wow. So what is the delivery unit done is a collaborative urban planning approach where we conducting citizen deliberative consultations in 2016. The participant is reaching 1,000 people, and then the citizen deliberative consultation is discussing strategic issues that need to be addressed by the city government, and it followed by technocratic synchronization where policy option is being developed to address the strategic issues. So the result of this is regional strategic activities. It's governor regulation. It consists of 73 regional strategic activities where some of it includes clean water development and management, flood control through river naturalization, construction of reservoir and coastal embankment, transit-oriented development, and provision of treatment and management of clean water. I'm going to skip this. So, the innovative urban policy will collaborative urban planning. So we facilitating 21 urban villages in Jakarta to help them plan their village and to facilitate them to be like environmental services provider to the city, like Kodi did. So we want to have this 21 villages to be water observation area, for example. So they can stay there, they can get their right to lands by serving the city environmentally. And then river naturalization approach, where we are encouraging effort to neutralize the river by developing areas around the river. And then fostering an environment that inclusive and sustainable through parks. So we would like to have more water absorption area in Jakarta. And then also we still conducting infrastructure and engineering approach where we develop coastal guide at the northern part of Jakarta. If you see at the left hand side, this red line is a guide that we develop to try to prevent the water coming to the city. So in conclusion, I think a new urban governance is needed to solve climate change issues and land subsidence and water absorption issues in Jakarta. Like also Bangkok experienced before, coordination is very hard. It's really cheap to say that word, but it's really hard to execute. So I think vertical integration between national and sub-national government planning and institutional structure will need to be tried, and also financial infrastructure for the sub-national government to create more innovative approach to this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Christine Cabasset is going to tell us about the governance of seaside tourist resorts. Christine is a PhD in geography and territory planning, research fellow at the French Institute on Contemporary Southeast Asia, IRASEC, based in Bangkok, and associate partner to the Center on Southeast Asia, CASE. Okay, it's you. Floor is yours.
So thank you. I would like to talk about seaside tourist resorts, and my main point is to show, hopefully, that the problem that we have been talking up to now, from Bangkok, from Jakarta, and soon from New Delhi, both west, we find the same ones, the same problems: subsidence, flood, flood, drought, waste collection and management problem. We find everything, also in seaside tourist resorts area, except that we don't talk about it. There are very little amount of work done on this topic. So I would like to remind first that Southeast Asia has experienced tourism expansion at a very fast pace, and the number of tourists nowadays in Southeast Asia is 4 times higher than it was 20 years ago. Obviously, the vast majority of these tourists are going on coastal areas. It's also interesting to remind that while before Western foreign tourists were the prominent one in the flux, nowadays, I mean for the last at least 15 or 20 years, it has been the regional tourists traveling within Asia, within Southeast Asia themselves, that became by far the biggest number of tourists, and as well as the important number of domestic tourists. So nowadays, anywhere you biggest number of tourists you will meet are the domestic tourists. Yeah. So all this move, anyway, had a strong effect on the tourism places, on tourism destination, with an important reconfiguration and resizing of seaside tourism resorts area from the small villages that they were before to very large urban areas. So I would give the example of Pattaya that receive about 15 million tourists a year, and who could recognize in Pattaya nowadays the small fishermen village that it was in the 60s. The same in Kuta area, so in the southern Bali, that the whole southern Bali receive about 14 million tourists a year as well. And previously, in the 70s, it was a succession of small villages distant with rice fields. Nowadays, this is a 10 to 15 kilometers long conurbation. So just to give you some example and how the move can be extremely fast. But then this was how the tourist resorts area would be born up to 20 years ago and still nowadays. From a small village and slowly becoming, but now with an increasing speed, becoming a large-scale seaside tourism resorts. But then, about 20 years ago, started as well a new origin of seaside tourist resorts area. Namely, for instance, you have a mega project that would settle in the destination, already existing destination, or you have ex nihilo large-scale project being built in order to be a new destination. So many international and national dynamics are playing in this trend, naming only few economic growth that would allow both tourist emission and investment emission. For instance, nowadays everybody is talking about China, the weight of China, both as a prime tourist emitter and also a prime investment emitter. Governance, and we will talk again about this later on, harsh competition not only between the countries to attract investments and tourists, but also a harsh competition between the destinations themselves, so within one country, for instance. And this leads as well to see it regularly, I would say, local governments to accept almost any kind of large-scale projects, and then without mentioning corruption or money laundering. So if we have a look to this map representing the coastal tourism destination in Southeast Asia, obviously there are much more than this, but they are the main one, I would say. And what is interesting, of course, in Thailand there are a big number of them for historical reasons. Same in Philippines. But what is interesting to highlight is that actually a part of them, big part of them, have been created in the last 20 years. And if we talk about Koh Chang that is here, 15 years ago, the most dominant accommodation type there was the guest houses. Nowadays there are more than 150 big hotels. Or maybe useless to talk about Sihanoukville, that everybody is talking about nowadays because of the speed of the urbanization process. So anyway, all this has led to get the same environmental risk. Obviously, I mean, a coastal area is still a coastal area. It can be a destination, tourism destination or not, but anyway, it's facing the same streets, but also tourism destinations. And most of these risks are increased because the basic urban services, water, waste, etc., are undersized. So what is, I would like to mention as well that for a long time, when the tourists would come back from holiday, the first things you would say would be about how nice the country or the place was and how nice the people were, etc., etc. For the last 5 years, when you meet someone, most of the time, depending where it's going, of course, but many times, you would talk also among the very first things, you would talk about pollution. Either from the beach pollution with plastic waste, or in the sea, if you are a diver, nowadays you find plastic in the sea. So, and these films and pictures are broadcasted a lot on social media. So anyway, with a team composed with the colleague Vilas Niti Batana. I have been working for 3 years with him, but I still have difficulty sometimes to remember his name. But I call him Vilas. That's much easier. And Agung Wiranata from Unut Bali, and Vilas is from Haiti, Thailand. And we worked for 3 years together, specifically on a program on coastal governance and climate change in the context of rapid tourism urbanization. Anyway, what we found out is that coastal erosion, pollution control, and waste management were really among the most critical points in urban management in Southeast Asia. So I won't come back on what was said before, but just to mention that again, some destinations are facing the same street of subsidence, not street actually, are facing the same phenomenon of subsidence, and moreover, I would say, of groundwater pollution because of the over-pumped water from the groundwater. And then, if you like to go around, you know yourself, and everybody can observe that most of the time there is a severe deficit of clean transportation, or even anyway of mass transportation in tourism destination. So all this has also an aspect, social aspect, because from this situation you have a growing number, I would say, of opposition movements to some large-scale projects, not to all, but to some. And not only because of the inequality rising, but also because people don't understand why on some destination, why we still go on to build so large-scale projects, while the basic urban services in terms of, again, waste collection and treatment, and water supply and transportation are not fixed. So why to attract more people? 2 minutes, I'm going very fast. So, and obviously, also these coastal destinations are facing the same threat coming from climate change, and we all know that now the big question is how fast would be the ice sheet and glacier loss. Anyway, most of seaside tourist resort areas are already affected by a series of effects. Floods, for instance, in Pattaya. I've seen many also episodes while I was in Bali. If you have a convergence between high tide, big waves, and rain, huge rain, and then we would have floods, you know, and submersion, marine submersion, coastal erosion is huge, etc. And everywhere I go, I see, I mean, how much effort and money local governments are putting in all this, I mean, in order to maintain, repair, rebuild the roads, the pavements, the beaches themselves, etc. And, but for me, I mean, what is still surprising is still that nowadays, with all what we know already on climate change and on environmental risk, we still see new roads, new hotels, new infrastructure, either public or private, still built, I mean, almost next to the high tide line. So this is, I don't know, a little not really understandable, and it generates a safety problem. And I would like to highlight also that when there was, in 2004, there was this massive, big tsunami in the ocean, December 2004. I remember very well, at that time, in Indonesia or in Thailand, people, including journalists or including people from political leaders, saying this is a signal to that we have to plan more soundly, you know, to do spatial planning on coastal areas and so on. And something went probably wrong because this is not exactly what happened actually. So I will go very quickly. Yes, that's my time is over. So only some pictures about coastal erosion and pollution that you know already. So I will skip this one. But I mean, if we would say that this dark picture of tourism destination is the generality and it's all dark, it's all terrible, we would be wrong as well. First, because a lot of work is done actually at international level or regional level through the ASEAN Secretariat, for instance, or at countries level. What is more interesting also, not more, but what is interesting, especially for me, is the quality of the governance. I mean, and we talked about this a little bit before with the Irvan presentation. Is the leadership aware of this risk, you know, and aware of this, the global, national, and local stakes? That's very important, and it's making a big difference in the governance. And he's sharing as well. He's sharing the governance, taking advice to people, etc. From what I've seen as well, I mean, although all these tourism destinations are often very different in their origin, history, and geography, there is one important factor for governance, that is the social structure and social cohesion. We can come back on the points later on if you are interested. But to me, this is an interesting point. And then I won't have time to detail all what is done anyway physically on the beaches or seaside areas. For instance, we are working a few months ago. We were in Leiden, several were in Leiden, and we had a specific panel on the idea of resilience and social cohesion. And so, just to show you some picture of quite costly equipment for coastal protection, and I need to go very fast. So, but I believe again that I don't want to be too long. So, okay, I stop here. But thank you. Yes.
Try to have a connection with Remy de Bersegol and Shankari Gowda, which are new development. So the Skype connection. Meanwhile, the present you Rémi de Versegol, it's a research fellow at the French National Center for Scientific Research, CNRS, and I think that's Champagne Mila.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Rémi. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, not very well, but I will increase the volume.
Okay. I was just presenting you. You're working at the CNRS, French National Center for Scientific Research, deputy to the Center for Social Sciences and Humanities in New Delhi. So you will, are you alone or with Champagne? You're alone.
Can you hear me? Okay. So the connection is a little bit slow, but it will manage. So first of all, thank you very much for this introduction. I'm very sorry that I'm not able to come for some visa regulation issue. I'm stuck in India for the moment. But still, the internet is functioning, you can hear me, and we can duplicate my presentation. We can reduce the carbon footprint. Yes? Okay. So, I will duplicate my screen, start sharing, and you are supposed to see the first line of my presentation.
Yes,
Can you see it?
It's working.
Okay, wonderful. So, what I will be talking about today is waste management in Delhi, in India. This is based on a paper that has been published last year with my colleague Shankar Buddha from CPR. Basically, it deals with the modernization of waste sector in Delhi. So, Delhi, okay, so Delhi is a big city. It's working. Delhi is a huge city with 60 million inhabitants in 2011, but actually it might be around 20 million of inhabitants. It's a big metropolis, and you have a minimum of 9,000 to 10,000 of waste collected every day by the municipality. So, which you are telling me if you don't understand me. It's working? The sound is working?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So, there is a problem. So, okay, we try. 3, don't move. Okay, there is so much waste in Delhi that you have a lot of landfill which became like mountains of waste. And these mountains of waste, these big landfill, are literally falling. And last year, for example, you got the Gazipur one who fell down and 2 people have been killed. So there is like 3-4 landfill operating in Delhi now. Most of them should have been closed since a long time. You are on the north, on the east, on the south of Delhi. And to find a solution, the government is thinking to close this landfill. This is a part of the one. What you see on the back side is a landfill. So they come up with this government scheme, which is called Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat means Clean India Mission. And the concept is to pay electricity for everybody by 2019. And for this, the government has asked the private sector to come into the picture to remove these waste mountains. I don't know what is the issue with this, but incineration seems a life-saving solution. are building waste-to-energy plants. I can't understand what is happening, I'm sorry, but this is... I don't understand what is happening. So I'll do it like this. So basically, the Indian government came up with this mission, which aims was to call the private sector for collection, transportation, and treatment. And within that scheme, incineration seems to be a life-saving solution. Because if you burn the waste, rather than putting it in a landfill, then you have no more land issue problem, and you can produce electricity out of it. So they call this private sector to build up this waste-to-energy plant. One of them, the one I've been working on, the first one is maintained by Jindal, which is a big Indian conglomeration. It's the yellow point on the map that you can see on the southeast of Delhi. So waste-to-energy plant, it is good on the paper, but I think it's a false good idea. Because we are in Delhi, where the atmospheric pollution is not good at all, and if you burn the waste, it might add even more particles into the air. So it's great air pollution. Secondly, it appears to be a false good idea because all the residents living in the vicinity of the waste-to-energy plant are opposing it. They are saying, okay, it creates pollution, our children will have some health issue, so we are against it. So basically there is 21 judicial court still ongoing for the closing of that plant. It's also a financial issue because paradoxically, that kind of waste-to-energy plants have been recorded into the UNFCCC, so the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, claiming that the waste which is burnt and generate electricity is waste which is not put into the landfill. So they are eligible to get it. They got the stamp from the UNFCCC, but at the same time, in 2009, the carbon market collapsed. So they are losing money, and they are obliged to sell 50% of their production to the government at a very reduced rate. So they are not really making money out of it for the government, for the operator. But the most biggest problem is the technical issue. The characterization, the composition of waste in India, which is a tropical country like in Thailand, is not at all the same as in Europe or some other so-called developed countries. So the waste is mostly organic and it doesn't burn that well. So it doesn't work very well and it doesn't produce electricity that it was supposed to be produced. So about this, I have a little bit of data that I would like to show you. I have compiled all the monitoring period from this waste-to-energy plant from 2011, since it has been recorded to the UNFCCC for climate change, until recently 2015, and I got a little bit later than that. You can see on the first column that at the beginning there was very less high calorific value waste, so paper, textile, wood, rubber, leather, plastic were not here, and there was much more biodegradable. On the average, 2011 to 2015, 69% were biodegradable, and 30% were only high calorific value waste. Why? It's because actually most of the good material have been taken out before by this informal waste economy. For example, so the waste is collected before the municipal collection is happening. It's put on site, it's sorting out the island on the quality, going to big markets. This is a photography of the PVC market, and then it is resold to some industrial area in Delhi. And recently, the quality of waste coming into the incineration is getting a little bit better, which means that there is less biodegradable waste coming in and more high calorific waste, so basically more recyclable waste which is coming in. Why? Because the Delhi government has begun to implement door-to-door collection like in Western countries, which means that they will be able to access the best quality material before it is taken by the informal recycling economy. So if you look at the data, now there is 44% of the waste feeding the incinerator, which is high calorific value waste. But basically, there are more plastic, more papers which have been getting burned, and this paper plastic would have been recycled. So, so if you make a comparison between 2016 and 2018, you see that on the first column is waste to energy plunge. In 2016, there was only 1 ton which was getting incinerated on a capacity of 2,000. In 2018, it's almost 2,000 tons, so it's getting better. But if you are looking, sorry, but there is a bug in my computer. If you are looking at the landfill, this has not changed at all. In 2016, there was 1,000 tons feeding the landfill. In 2018, there is almost 2,000 tons. And there is a new landfill, which got appearance in 2017, so that they keep landfilling despite the incineration. Why? Because what is getting burned in the incinerator plant is just the recyclable. It was just the waste which was actually getting to be recycled. So, because basically, to make it work, you need to burn recyclable waste. And it's a socio-economic nonsense because in Delhi, like in Thailand, like in Vietnam, you have all this chain of recycled economy. From your garbage, someone is coming and collects your waste, will sort out, segregating it, going to the market, it will get again segregated, it will be sold, and then slowly the waste will get valorized as a resource. But if you put a waste to energy plant, which is supposed to be modern, in that picture, then there is no more of this economy. So it's a socio-economic nonsense in my sense. So I come to the first paradox. That guy is called Mulchan. He is a waste worker, informal. He is the one who is picking up the waste. One of those who is picking up the waste in Sever and Delhi. And this Swachh Bharat reform, Clean India mission, is supposed to clean Delhi from all this waste. So we could have thought that, okay, the waste workers will get involved at one point of time. But actually, the first to be affected by the modernization of the waste management system in Delhi are the ones who are doing the job for since long. So Mulchan is slowly getting replaced by SPML, Ramki, Jindal, ILFS, DPSL, this big multinational company, Indian, who wants to integrate the waste business. That's the first paradox. So, as I mentioned, the waste workers, the traditional waste workers, are trying to unite, and so this is one of them who gained some political power by fighting the implementation of this waste to energy plant. For him, your waste is his livelihood. That's what he's saying. That's a picture of the Facebook Safai Sena, which means the army of cleaners. And Songkoo has a very interesting story that I won't tell you now, but basically, very quickly, he went from Uttar Pradesh, a very
poor stayed next to Delhi. He came when he was a kid with nothing in the pocket. He begins to collect waste in the garbage. Slowly, he saved a little bit of money. Then he became bigger and he began to hire people to collect the garbage. Then he became a wholesaler market. And now he's involved into politics to protect the waste business.
Maybe you have
So,
2 minutes left.
okay. So, the waste to energy conservation model, it was following Harvey with we can say that the process of waste sector can be seen as an example of accumulation by dispossession, which means that there is an inherent necessity of the owners of capital, for the incinerator, to separate by force, if necessary, laborers, so the waste workers, like Mulchan or Santu, from the means of production, which is the waste, transfer station, and this current privatization of door-to-door production. And once this process is complete, then a small number of waste workers are offered the opportunity to sell their labor for little wage in a waste energy plant. To sum up, centralized facilities like incinerator can be seen as based on capitalist accumulation. Why not? Rather than on labor force, which is like widely available in India. There is also another model based on labor through the regulation of the recycling. So I come to the end, that's the second paradox. Why all this economy of recycling is completely disappeared from the government strategy, all economic small startups are coming up with the same traditional model that the government doesn't want to see. So Kabardibala in India means the recycled man. So you have a lot of application on smartphone and different on your computer. You can call the traditional Vala that you see in the middle of the picture of the slide. It's getting modernized and improved not by the government, by some startup. So which means that it is actually working, it is functioning, and it should be better to regulate it rather than neglecting it. So if we rethink, and that would be my conclusion, the current modernization of the waste sector through an SDGs perspective, we have to understand that technical choices have an impact on societal choices and are interdependent. Infrastructure are not neutral. There are complex socio-technical assemblages, and critical analysis of the dominant infrastructural regime can reveal the power structure of the society and its conflict. So, if we think now about what is happening in this current waste modernization, we can, extrapolate a little bit and thinking what does it mean for the city. We have the eviction of so-called non-modern practice, recycling economy, with a symbolic relegation of the emblematic PVC market, which is a big plastic market, which has been put on the fringes of the city, and before it was right in the center. The Green Tribunal, so it's a tribunal with dedicated for environmental problems, prefer to close small-scale recycling shop rather than trying to regulate it. And finally, it has been given clearance to the Jindal plant, which is paradoxical because the Jindal plant is polluting also. So basically, there is a process of gentrification. We can see that for the bourgeois environmentalists, the greenness of production must be removed from the city. Urban spaces should be reserved for white-collar production and commerce and consumption activities, and not for segregating waste. So for Vinny, Divani, and Reddy, they put forward this concept of eviscerating urbanism. The city needs to be cleared out from the slum and poor people, and the waste is a part of it. If you look at the Delhi Master Plan, it's clearly mentioned that there is a vision for a global city and a world-class metropolis that finally has got rid of its pollution and its slums. So there is still a pragmatic turn to be taken in order to take into account the socio-economic reality of Delhi, which is not Paris, Singapore, or maybe not Bangkok. I finish on one image. This image is it is actually the ashes which are coming out from the incinerator from the waste-to-energy plant. You see the black stuff, it's arches. And even if there is no more waste to recover, you will still have some people trying to collect which has not been burned, which has the metal. So they are holding big magnets and they are trying to recover this small metal and sell it for a living in the everyday. These people are coming from Bangladesh, they are without any paper, so they belong to the lower base of the recycling chain. But basically it's very symbolic. It means that we need to find an adapted solution to the socio-economic reality of Delhi. And I think that waste-to-energy plant is not a good option to solve the waste crisis in Delhi. Of course, there is a certain paradox that I did not mention. And we finish on that, but reduction at the source will be the most, one of the most efficient, one of the most efficient solutions, but nobody is thinking really about it for the moment. Even nobody is thinking about it. I'm not sorry for the technical issue. I don't understand why this diaporama was running on its own without me pushing the knob, but I hope it has been a little bit understandable for you.
Thank you. No, it was understandable, and we saw the presentation with a few hesitation, but it was all right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just a few words. Working for the city of Paris, it was a discovery for me to see all of this presentation about Asian cities. I was very impressed by the huge issues and the urgent issues of the cities of Bangkok and in Jakarta, flood and so I think it's seen from France. We have some problems with the climate change, but not so urgent. So I think it's very interesting to see how cities can manage these problems. Just a few words, because we are doing some resilient plans in Paris, and one of the main issues for us is to make understand that there is a really climate change, and that things will change, but it's not 1 or 2 degrees more. It will be a bit warmer in the summer, and that we have to change the consumptions of the cities, and we have the same problem as mentioned Christine. That means that if there is 1 meter more water in the sea, and we have to conceive the city completely different. And that's the same problem in every sector of the city. For example, for the main issue for us in Paris is the heat wave in the summer. And for the moment, we have some climate plans to have some economies of energy in the winter, but the buildings that we made last year were not adapted to the heat that we have this summer. So there is no real adaptation for the moment. So I don't want to, we're late, so we will open the questions to you if you have any questions.
Sorry, I do have questions, several, but maybe you could, because I didn't introduce you, but everybody, I think, understood what you are doing in Paris. But anyway, why did you create at the end how you call it, ecologic agency?
Urban Ecology Agency.
Yeah, Urban Ecology Agency. Why did you create
The different actions of the city of Paris were divided into all the departments of the city. For example, urban planning, mobility, green spaces, construction department. The idea was to have environment department, what we call urban ecology agencies. In fact, the environment department of the city with other environmental topics together, biodiversity, climate, circular economy. So the idea was to bind all the subjects together. We have some discussions sometimes we do not agree about the projects of the city because, for example, biodiversity and noise can have some difference. We want to do some walls, not any walls for the animals, just an example. And we have to give to speak on one voice, in one voice, toward our colleagues from the other department to bring together all the environment policies.
Actually, I wanted to be impolite, but sorry, if you have questions. Yeah. No, but because I had one for Niramon and one for Irfan, but yeah, okay.
Any questions?
Sorry, this is for Mr. Pulungan from Indonesia. Actually, your presentation says that the pursuit of economic growth is one of the reasons why Jakarta is experiencing the flood problem. However, one of the main topics in the World Bank is the seawall project. So there was a seawall project, however, implementation is very slow. Is it can I just give you an alternative concern? So isn't it the bureaucratic mechanism, the slow bureaucratic mechanism is the problem? No. For example, number 2, there is a plan to relocate the center of Indonesia from Jakarta to Kalimantan. So I think the problem is not just a pursuit of economic growth, but on the mechanisms or decision mechanisms of the government.
We need to understand that the giant seawall is a project based on economic growth. The reclamation and giant seawall is two connected projects, but it is so the reclamation project is being developed to finance the seawall. The problem is the big seawall in front of our coastal area, because Jakarta has 13 rivers from the south area to the north. So when we have a big concrete there, it will creating backwater effect, where water from the river will going back to the city, because there's a concrete there. So the problem here is not the dike, because in my presentation in the last slide you can see that we do the development of the dike, and it's already 5,000 kilometers if I'm not mistaken. And the problem is that we don't want to have the big concrete walls in front of our city, because if we remember what happened in USA, I forgot the city where Katrina hit, lots of concrete from the coastal areas coming to the city in very fast. What we call it? Concrete is being destroyed the area. So I think the problem is not we don't want to develop the dike, but the big seawall is the problem. So the government is still try to what we call it, try to progress the work on developing the coastal line. Yeah.
Thank you very much for these interesting talks. I'm Anna Baum from the University of Heidelberg, and I'm an anthropologist. So I have a question to the specialist, in this case, Christine, regarding the causes of the destruction or abrasion along the south coast in Bali, because I do most of my field work there, and I'm concerned with this issue for many years now. But there are always different explanations going on amongst the population. That's the first question. Is it really the rise of the sea level due to climate change, or are there other causes, like, for example, groundwater depletion and sinking of land, or the bombing of the coral reefs in front of the coast because the corals were used for house building and so forth? And yeah, just this.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Yeah, it's a combination of plenty of factors. But for instance, yeah, when I showed before the pictures of some dikes, you know, on Kuta Beach actually, and but they are all over. And because some beaches became almost without any sense. I mean, the beaches were totally destroyed by coastal erosion. So the coastal erosion could be natural, as you said, but in this case, this is a combination of natural factor probably of coastal erosion that happens everywhere, but also in some places, depends where, but they have been affected after, for instance, when the airport was done so this airport was in the 70s, you know, 70s. So it has affected the beaches in Kuta. But then when they started to work on the reclamation already in Saragan Island, so on the southern east coast, and this project has never finished. I mean, it has been on hold. But this, because they built the bridge and then they have made this reclamation, while this piece of land is extremely close to the shore, to the relevant shore, and then plenty of people say, I'm not a specialist, I didn't make any calculation, but plenty of people say that this is, if Sanur area and Chandidasa area are affected, this is specifically since they made this work on the reclamation area in Saragan Island that they never finished. So they disturbed the environment, but anyway for nothing, because there was never something out of the land.
Yes.
Sorry, come back to Chris. I have a question here. I'm curious to know from your experiences in built-up tourist coastal areas, what is the local buy-in to wanting to change practices that are more sustainable in like this ecotourism model? Because I think if you look at the livelihoods of people, say like from hill tribe areas or northern Thailand compared to say Phuket, livelihoods I guess are retained in somewhat different ways. If you compare Patong to somewhere around Japan. I wonder what your thoughts on that is, or what your experiences are.
So if I understood well, your question is about the increasing volume or number of, for instance, what we could call ecotourists, so people not going anymore to the... Is that your question or no?
Sorry, frame it in a sentence. More like, so mass tourism in coastal areas.
Yeah.
Kuta, Patong, stuff like this. What is your experience with the local people's buy-in for wanting to adopt more sustainable means? And if you find, what's their attitudes?
So how much the local are involved in changing things, yeah, and the way it's done. This is actually this is important, but I don't know if we have time to dig out this question. But some people are purely aware of this, and they really would like to change things, but at all levels, from NGOs, from even people, I mean, working in a, I don't know, in a government office, or so you always find people like this. But on the field, it's long and hard to find it. I mean, to see it on the field, to find the transformation. For instance, we have Irvan here. I mean, he's doing his best with his team to transform Jakarta. But Jakarta, it will be a long task, isn't it, to transform Jakarta? So, but this is the same for the what we call mass tourism destination. This is on what I work, by the way. I mean, what is interesting to me is where people go, most of the people. But and the other question, I think, is I know some local governments, and they really try their best to keep what they believe. You know, for instance, they do a spatial planning, and they say this is what we would like to get: this kind of tourists, this kind of landscape, this kind of things. We want this identity, etc. But the real question is what does it take to be able to keep this when there is a so tough investment competition, you know? And this is really the main question. It's not easy because it's full of pressures, probably everywhere. You have to compromise, etc. So it's absolutely not easy. So, but this is the good question. Yeah.
So is there another question? I think the next panel starts at 3:30, so 8 minutes. So thank you very much to you all, and thank you for joining. Bye.